and trying to address questions as they come up. If I miss it, we're gonna have lots of time at the end for questions too. I'm just gonna take another sip of water. Always, always. Okay. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you haven't already, drop into the little chat box and tell me where you are from and how far along you are. So I am not pregnant, thankfully. Been there, done that so many times. I am Brianna Towne, aka the food therapist. Oh, Denver. Hi, Emily, you're right, like an hour away from me. I am in Colorado Springs, Colorado currently. I have 4 kids, 8, we're just having a birthday soon, 8, 7, 4, and 2. Those are my kids. Hi, Vermont, 7 weeks, 6 weeks. Oh, yay. Okay. Yes. Oh, yay. Okay. So yes, I have 4 little ones, Colorado Springs. I also have a 1-year-old puppy. Hi, Taryn. And we're going to talk about hormones. We're going to talk about hormones in pregnancy. We're going to talk about optimal diet to keep those hormones in balance during pregnancy. We're going to talk about cravings and mood swings, blood sugar, glucose tests, gestational diabetes. We're going to talk about all of these things because they're all related to hormones. Your hormone system is affected by everything, okay? Everything. And in my work, the biggest thing we can do to address that is to focus on the kinds of foods you're eating and your mindset surrounding those foods, so that when you do, eat 10 cookies in one sitting, you're not feeling guilty and stressed about that, because that kind of guilt and stress can then exacerbate any physical ailments you're feeling, especially during pregnancy. So a little bit about me real quick before we get started. So I started my journey into health and nutrition, 7 years ago. I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. And I was just drowning in confusion and frustration and like, what am I actually supposed to be eating and doing? And how is there no legitimate information out there for moms in this? Thank you, Abigail. How am I supposed to find out what to do when there's so much noise and so many like recommendations going on and none of it seems really legit, right? So after being frustrated with looking at blogs and websites and trying to find all the information on my own, with 3 tiny humans, I went to graduate school to get my master's in nutrition. I also have half a dozen certifications, trainings, education in everything from yoga to postpartum corrective exercise to intuitive eating, so that I could really get a grasp on a holistic view of health, because the more you know, the more you realize everything is so connected. It's so, so connected. I talk with my hands a lot. As you'll notice, I'm not even going to apologize anymore. So my work centers around health and motherhood and yes, hormones, but more so how to design a healthy lifestyle that supports wellness and healing. I never give clients like a list of off-limits foods or just a handful of supplements and send them on their way. It goes beyond basic biochemistry, right? It has to, because then you wouldn't actually take any of this information I'm going to teach you and incorporate it into your life. And that's where the real healing and the real change happens, is when you can take the things you know and then actually create habits around that to incorporate it into your life. So that's what food therapy is all about. That's what my work is all about. So for the first 20 minutes here, I'm going to cover all things conquering pregnancy hormones and then leave the rest up to Q&A. I might go over 20 minutes because I have a lot of notes here that I want to get through. I'm sure you have like specific questions about your pregnancy, your hormones, your ailments, symptoms, whatever. So please make sure to use that chat function if you need to. So first, I'm going to chat a little bit briefly. I'm not going to drown you in information. That's super boring. But chat briefly about the kind of main reproductive hormones that we hear about when we're talking about pregnancy, fertility, maternal health, all that good stuff, right where we are. So big ones, estrogen, right? This is the hormone that causes eggs to mature. In your ovaries, once you hit puberty, these are then, as you know, these eggs released at regular intervals during your menstrual cycle. This also helps develop female sexual traits and typically is formed in the ovaries. It's also, estrogen is made by the placenta during pregnancy to maintain a healthy pregnancy. FSH. This causes the egg to mature in the ovary. LH, I'm not going to give you the whole long words for things because they're hard to pronounce and they're confusing and the letters are simpler. If you want me to read them all out for you, let me know. But so FSH, that's the one that causes that egg to mature in your ovary and then be released. LH is the hormone that stimulates the release of the egg. Estrogen and progesterone are involved in maintaining the uterine lining and made by the ovaries and the placenta during pregnancy. Then we have HCG. This is basically when you take a pregnancy test, you pee on a stick, and that's what's measured, that level of that hormone. It's only made during pregnancy. It's made almost exclusively in the placenta. This is the hormone that really plays a part, and we'll talk about this in a minute, in the like nausea and vomiting and discomfort in the especially first trimester of pregnancy. So if you're experiencing any of that, these like, I know we have a few really early pregnant mamas, that's why this HCG hormone is why. Then we have the human placental lactogen, which is made in the placenta and it gives nutrition to the fetus and it stimulates milk glands in your breasts for breastfeeding. Relaxin, most commonly known for relaxing your muscles, bones, ligaments, and joints later in pregnancy in preparation for labor. I know nobody likes that nausea hormone. And then we have oxytocin. It's there throughout your pregnancy, but it's mostly known as the muscle contracting hormone for stimulating labor contractions, right? And then prolactin, which in terms of pregnancy, we're talking about this hormone is the reason why your breasts increase in size and eventually produce milk. So that was a really big overview. And I threw a lot at you. So if you have specific questions about any of those, let me know. Otherwise, I'm more interested in just getting into how to actually like take control of them, right? So these are the main ones. You have a lot more hormones than this. So imbalances with these hormones and others during pregnancy is really common because, as you can tell, in different parts of your pregnancy, different hormones are higher, different hormones are lower, and it's all kind of a wild roller coaster ride. So knowing, you know, what's going on in certain times of your pregnancy and how to kind of adjust is really key. So one of the best things you can do, obviously, to combat this is to have a really solid, balanced nutrition. If you're experiencing a lot of nausea, vomiting, mood swings, fatigue, it's likely that one or more of these hormones is off balance. And the way we bring that into balance is focusing on food. So I am a food first nutritionist, meaning I am much more interested in what you add to your diet than what you subtract. I only look at supplements and vitamins after I've looked at diet. And I rarely ever give anyone a, hey, don't eat this, okay? It's much more fun and interesting to add things. And it's also, there's so many negative thoughts and feelings and emotions around restriction, okay? So when we're told we can't have something, we want it even more. Always, always, always. That's why diets never work, right? So in pregnancy, obviously, we know to steer clear from things like alcohol, too much caffeine, refined sugars, fried foods, highly processed foods, soft cheeses, cold cuts, excessive dairy products. Maybe we don't know all these things, but those things are the items that we want to kind of leave by the wayside and maybe not even pick up after we're done being pregnant. But what you add is way more interesting. So certain foods can definitely help support hormonal balance. But the thing is, you can't spot treat your hormones. You can't say, okay, I'm going to eat sesame seeds so that I can support my estrogen levels. Well, it doesn't work like that because it's a system. So you have to focus on the system as a whole. And one of the main ways your endocrine system, hormonal system is influenced is from your gut, which means if you're feeding a healthy gut with lots of healthy food, your hormonal system will work the way it's supposed to and be in balance. You don't have to target any specific hormones. You don't have to target any specific foods even. You just have to focus on eating nutrient-dense, balanced meals that are supporting your gut. So we hear a lot about probiotics and gut health and all these digestive enzymes and these supplements that can help with your gut. But the really interesting thing is that you don't necessarily need all of that. What you need to support a healthy gut microbiome is plants and fiber, okay? So a variety of plants and plant foods are going to be your first line of defense for balancing hormones, for feeding a healthy gut, balancing blood sugars. It's all related and it all starts in your gut. Excuse me. So your gut microbiome thrives on plants and fibers. So it's really important, and especially in pregnancy, to focus on getting as many different plants in your diet. And I know in the first trimester, it's really common to have food aversions to plants, to vegetables. So many of my clients come to me saying like, well, I want to vomit when I look at a head of lettuce, right? And that's totally valid. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the real trick to balancing hormones is to eat a variety of plants, eat a variety of plant foods. So each week, I ask my clients to aim for at least 20 different plant foods each week. And honestly, I like to see that number closer to 40. It sounds like a ton and it sounds difficult, but it's not, okay? It's really not. And I'm going to give you an example of a meal that has 11 plants. It's really not that hard once you start to think about what plants are. So it's not just vegetables. We're talking fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, spices, herbs. All of those things are plants, you know, anything that comes from the ground, so like not animal foods. Not to say you can't eat animal foods, but getting 20 to 40 plant foods in your diet each week is going to be your best line of defense for feeding that gut microbiome and keeping a well-oiled hormonal system going. So last week for lunch, I had, let me pull it up here so I remember all the plants. Okay, so I made myself a little bowl. I had arugula, pumpkin seeds. I had made a pesto, a vegan pesto. Instead of basil, I used the beet leaves, like the leaves from a head of beets. A bunch of beets. So pesto made with beet greens and cashews. I put some sesame seeds on there, kimchi, artichoke hearts, broccoli sprouts, lemon juice, lentils, roasted chickpeas. That's 11. That's 11 plants in one bowl. And it sounds like a lot, but I didn't cook anything but the roasted chickpeas. And the pesto, I guess I cooked the pesto. So I made the pesto, and I roasted chickpeas, and everything else, just toss it in and go. So it took maybe 5 minutes to get the whole thing because I had already made the chickpeas and the pesto. So I just toss it all in a bowl and eat it. We can talk about specific vitamins and minerals to support hormone balance, but I find it's way more practical to kind of almost skip over that step and just talk about getting a lot of different plants into your diet, a lot of different foods, variety. It's the spice of life, and it's what your gut wants to eat. So it's way more fun. It's way more fun to look at, oh, okay, how can I add, 3 more things to this chicken and roasted vegetables and rice, right? How can I add 3 to 4 more things? Can I toss on some pumpkin seeds? Can I put some sesame seeds on there? Can I chop up some almonds or walnuts? Can I add some fresh herbs? There's so many different things that you can just add. It's about abundance. It's not about don't eat this, okay? If you are experiencing severe aversions to the thought of eating vegetables or other healthy foods, like so many of my first trimester mamas are, that's because of that HCG hormone that's surging in your first trimester. That causes that kind of increase in nausea and vomiting and also food aversions. So a few things you can do to try to still get a good balance of foods, even when you're feeling nauseous, that's really going to help support all of those raging hormones, is to eat smaller, more frequent meals. Separate your eating from your drinking. So obviously you need to stay hydrated, especially as you're growing a tiny human. But oftentimes when we eat a large meal and drink a bunch of water, it almost like confuses our body, and it can lead to more nausea. It may not affect you that way, but if you are experiencing a lot of nausea, vomiting, food aversions, try separating your water from your meals. Switch to gentle soups and broths like bone broth or miso soup, really gentle, soothing things to add to your meals that don't necessarily have that texture issue that a lot of pregnant mamas have problems with. If you can stomach it, I know a lot of pregnant mamas can't, but try smoothies or smoothie bowls. And I'm happy to send over a smoothie recipe if anyone wants one, but at least a third vegetables in your smoothie. I like to see about half at least, but lots and lots of veggies in your smoothie, and you can kind of amp that up and kind of balance that dirt taste of leaves with, lemons, berries, ginger, all that good stuff. Ginger is also really great for nausea. Sipping on some decaf teas like peppermint or chamomile. Meditating. I know it's not food related, but often that nausea can be mitigated by lowering stress levels, lowering your cortisol hormone. And meditation can really help with that. This is kind of part of the integration of taking all this knowledge and really like putting it into practice. Meditating is kind of part of that integration. It's really, really important. Getting outside, sunshine, fresh air, walking around the block, getting the blood flowing, that can really give you a boost of endorphins and, lower stress levels, balance out that nausea. Excuse me, that nausea. And then give yourself some slack, cut yourself some slack, give yourself grace. You're growing a human, okay? And it's natural to feel nauseous. It's natural to oftentimes feel really gross. It's natural to have complete food aversions to anything that sounds healthy, especially in those first 12 weeks. So if you need to live off of crackers and bread and oatmeal, that's fine. It's fine for a few weeks. It's fine for a couple of months. In the first trimester especially, your body doesn't really need anything extra. Your little lentil is this big. Like, you don't need a whole lot extra. You just need to really kind of just tune into what's going on. Yes, I acknowledge that I feel like crap right now. I'm going to make sure I drink some water. I'm going to make sure I eat something. But if it's just a bowl of oatmeal or just a piece of white bread, that's enough. It's enough. Typically, the nausea goes away within the second trimester and you're able to eat more. And that's when your needs increase anyway. So if you need to wait for the second trimester, that's okay. All right, cravings. Cravings are typically a sign that your body's missing something from your diet, or you're experiencing a blood sugar imbalance. So one of the best things you can do to balance that, and blood sugar imbalances are related to hormones, as is everything. So one of the best ways to combat that is make sure you're getting enough protein. In the second and third trimesters, your protein needs increase. You want to be making sure you're getting around 70, 75 grams of protein daily. If you're experiencing cravings, mood swings, nausea, these can all be mitigated by making sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. It kind of like holds everything together, holds everything down. It's like holds down the fort, right? If you can't get enough protein, you can consider adding a like collagen protein supplement to your smoothies. Usually one scoop is like, 15 or 30 milligrams, depending on what size scoop you have. So it's, or grams, sorry. So it's easy to get in there. If you're craving things that are less than optimal for you and your baby, like fried foods or excess sugar, start to look for healthier alternatives that are going to satisfy that urge, but not spike your insulin levels and mess with your blood sugar and lead to like bad eating habits for you and your baby, because your eating habits during pregnancy get passed on. They get passed on. So, sugary cravings can be soothed by some dark chocolate, which is actually great for your overall health if it's high quality and in smaller amounts. Fried food cravings can be overcome by having some roasted chickpeas, nice salty, crunchy snack. So start to think of, better alternatives to a pint of ice cream and some Cheetos. And again, it's okay to have cravings and give in to them. Your cravings are telling you something. They're telling you that something's off, either with your mind or your body. Something's off. So listen to them and then try to give your body what it needs in the healthiest way you can. So speaking of snacking, cravings, sweet things, another hormonal issue that comes up a lot in pregnancy is gestational diabetes. So Hatch posted on their Instagram a couple of days ago that the basically comparing 2020 to the glucose drink, right? Did anyone see that? I laughed out loud when I saw it because it's so true. That thing is disgusting. So if you haven't taken your glucose test yet, you do that at about 24 or 28 weeks. It basically checks how well your body handles sugar, or more specifically, how well your body produces the hormone insulin in response to extra glucose in your system. If you go into pregnancy with unbalanced insulin levels or insulin resistance, then you're more likely to develop gestational diabetes. About 6 to 9% of pregnant women will develop gestational diabetes, and there's often no signs or symptoms, so you don't really know until you have that test done. My best tips, I guess, for being able to pass that test the first time when you get to that 24, 28 week mark is to start at the beginning of your pregnancy, right? To start by having a well-balanced, solid diet towards the beginning of your pregnancy, or even before, preferably, honestly. That way, you can really ensure that your body responds well to that excess sugar, that glucose, by having a well-balanced diet during your pregnancy. So lots and lots of veggies, 20 to 40 plants weekly, enough protein, 70, 75 grams or so daily, and then a good amount of healthy fats from plants and plant oils, olive oil, avocado oil. I love sesame oil on pretty much everything. But in addition to diet, the other biggest thing you can do is try to mitigate stress. Stress is actually one of the biggest factors that can influence how your body metabolizes sugar and influences your insulin response. So that response to that glucose can be affected by your stress levels. So aside from diet, making sure that you are doing all you can to reduce and mitigate stress in your life is really, really important. So the biggest, and I'm smiling because I'm going to talk to you about sleep for a second. I have 4 little children. I've been pregnant 6 times. I understand how difficult it is to get a good night's sleep. I do. So, but lack of sleep is a huge contributor to those increasing cortisol stress levels. So while it may not be possible to get a good night's sleep, you can do everything you can to set up your environment, set up your room, set up your kind of sleep routine to support the little sleep that you are able to get. So make sure you're sleeping in a cool room, not too warm, super dark. Consider it an eye mask if you need to. Nice and quiet, or with a gentle noise machine. No digital lights or other visual distractions. I keep my phone in a completely different room overnight. And I use the Hatch Restore alarm clock that turns a light on about a half hour before the gentle, dulcet ringtones start. You can also keep a notebook by your bed. I know a lot of people wake up in the middle of the night with all these racing thoughts. So write those down. When they wake you up, write them down. Before you go to bed, write them down. Keep a notebook by your bed so that can just kind of get out of your head onto the paper and done. Excuse me. Practicing meditation before bed and doing a little gratitude can really help lower your stress levels. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but if you get into bed, get all cozy, get your eye mask on. I lay one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly, and just close my eyes and breathe in like I'm so thankful for my husband. I am so thankful for my children. I'm so thankful for my dog. I am so thankful for this home. I'm so thankful for whatever, okay? Just a handful of things, just breathing in and out what you are thankful for. It helps. It's really great. And then don't drink a ton of water or eat a ton of food right before bed, because then you'll have to pee. And you already have a bowling ball sitting on your bladder. All right. Other ways to decrease stress and help. Gosh, I just haven't talked this long in a long time. Other ways to decrease stress and keep those cortisol levels in line, because as I said, hormones are system. So one's out of balance, cortisol, the rest are out of balance too. So expressive writing or journaling has been really well researched to be supportive for women especially. So it doesn't have to be like, well, I don't know what to write about. Just write. Get anything that's write to-do lists, write about your feelings, write about a movie you just watched on Netflix, like whatever, write. It'll come, the deep stuff will come. Social support. So I know that's hard right now, but this kind of thing, that's why I really want you guys to use the chat box and like chat, get some social interactions, get some social support, because even virtual social support is better than none. One of the biggest stressors in our lives is not having a solid social support system. And it really can do more harm than not exercising, okay? So it's really, really tough on our bodies. Number 3 is exercise. So some prenatal yoga or walking, doing some strength training safely, effectively while you're pregnant. Meditating and gratitude again, and deep breathing. So in pregnancy, you never want to like hold your breath, but just deep cyclical breathing is really, really helpful in balancing that nervous system that can exacerbate your stress hormones. So this isn't just about you, because your stress levels during pregnancy can get passed on to your baby. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but really, really interesting studies out there that show mothers who, while pregnant, are so stressed, like living through famine, devastation, like really, really stressed, like maybe living through a global pandemic in an election year, like that kind of thing. And that stress can be passed on to your babies while you're pregnant. And in some of these studies, they follow the babies throughout their entire adulthood. And they've got all of these chronic illnesses. There just so many things that they're troubled with. And it's related to, maybe not directly the cause, but it's related to the stress that these mothers endured while they were pregnant. So if I can give you any piece of advice, it's to try to lower those stress levels by doing all these things we talked about, and then eating lots and lots of plants to feed that gut so the rest of your hormonal system can really thrive. Food, stress, movement, plants, all the building blocks to a healthy, thriving pregnancy and balanced hormones. The trick is integrating all this stuff into your daily lives in a way that's not stressful or exhausting, because you're already stressed and tired enough, right? I have a 6-week course, 6-week virtual program all about balancing hormones. So if this is like, yes, I really need more, you'll get a link after that, and you can use the code HAPPY, all caps, HAPPY10, to get 10% off just for joining us today. Otherwise, let's open it up to some questions. I'm happy to get into like more specifics on vitamins, minerals, micronutrients, thyroid, all that good stuff. I wanted to get through this portion quickly so that we had time to answer any questions you guys have. I know, personal journeys with pregnancy and health in general are that they're personal. And so it's kind of difficult to give like a talk and be like, I'm going to teach about hormones, but maybe this one person has a different, experience from someone else. Okay. Okay, we have a question. Do you need to take a prenatal vitamin? Could you get all those nutrients through food? Theoretically, you could get them all through food, but I've never seen anyone do it. Not all prenatal vitamins are created equal. So really look into what's available in that prenatal vitamin and what you're kind of missing from your diet. Personally, I typically recommend needed. Nourishment is needed. And I don't even know how to say it. It's this new one that just came out, Perel, P-E-R-E-L-E-L. I don't know. I'll find it. And I'll pop a link in. If you go with needed, you can use my name, Brianna Towne, all caps, for I think 15 or 20% off. That's one of my favorite prenatals. But yeah, theoretically, you could get it all from food, but I have not seen that. It's not been my experience. Okay, another question. Let's see. Severe fatigue. Okay, do you have any specific tips to combat or lessen severe fatigue and severe acne? So severe acne likely caused by gluten, dairy, or a combination of the two. Honestly, our human bodies are not meant to break down, absorb, use lactose, use cow milk. Okay, we are made to drink human milk, right? Like that's what we feed our babies if we are able. We feed I'm like touching my breasts. We feed our babies human milk. That's what our bodies are made for. We're not made for drinking cow milk. So oftentimes severe acne can be caused by your body not being able to break down dairy. Severe fatigue, so related to hormones. Oftentimes that stems from your gut as well, because everything's connected. It could also be a thyroid issue. Yeah. So fatigue can be stress. Definitely focus on lowering your stress levels. Even just taking like 5 deep breaths first thing in the morning and 5 deep breaths last thing of the day, doing that and just feeling into it can really help lower that cortisol level and give you a little more energy. feeding your gut that 20 to 40 different plants a week is going to give you more energy, and lowering your dependence on animal products, meats, dairy, cheese, all that good stuff. Lowering your dependence on that can really help with energy levels too, because your plants move through us really, really quickly. Animal products can stay in our gut, stay in our bodies, stay in our stomachs for up to 72 hours. And it takes longer to break that down. So your body uses more energy to break down and then excrete animal products. So if you are feeling really sluggish, it could be that you have a really big dependence on animal products, animal foods. Again, you can eat animals all you want, but you should consider, if you're super tired and having a lot of acne, I would definitely consider trying to lower that down. Craving all the carbs right now. So a couple reasons you could be craving carbs a lot at 6 weeks pregnant. Comfort. Okay, so there is so much research into comfort foods, and we tend to like villainize carbs, and we villainize, eating those comfort foods. But actually, if you allow yourself to enjoy those comfort foods like carbs, and you're actually enjoying it, right? You're actually enjoying it instead of sitting there like, oh, I'm eating a cookie, I'm so bad. If you're actually enjoying it, you're going to end up absorbing more nutrients from that thing. Even if it's a donut has nutrients in it. You're going to end up absorbing more than you would if you were feeling stressed and guilty and shamed about it. I know, it's crazy. So giving in to occasionally those comfort foods is actually healthy for you. It really is. Promise, okay? Other reasons you could be craving carbs is because you're maybe not getting enough sleep. If your sleep is really terrible, you wake up in the morning and it's such a system, right? So you wake up in the morning and you're exhausted because you had terrible sleep. This means your stress levels are way out of balance. It means your insulin levels are way up here, and you really, really are craving some kind of quick sugar, right? Some quick sugar that's going to give you some energy and get up and go. Our bodies are really smart. If we're feeling tired, we're going to crave the kind of food that gives us that quick energy boost really quickly. Quick energy boost quickly. And that comes in the form of simple carbs. So like bagel or a donut or a bowl of Cheerios. So sleep is really important. It starts at night, right? If you can get your sleep solid as you can, having to pee 3 times a night. If you can get your sleep habits as well as good as you can, as solid as you can, then overnight, things will start to balance. You won't feel that kind of sugar rush, carb craving first thing in the morning. Then you'll be able to have a better breakfast. I always suggest to start your day with vegetables. Get some vegetables, balance it with some protein, a little bit of fat in the morning. So you have that slow release of insulin. You're leveling your blood sugar, and then your cortisol levels can drop at a regular rate. Then at 4 o'clock, your melatonin can start to release so that it allows you to have a better sleep. It's all related, all related. No, it's not bad to be craving carbs all the time, but you need other things, right? You need fat and protein, and you need to make sure you're getting vitamins and minerals that your body and your baby needs. All right. Do you have specific tips to combat or less? Oh, I already did that one. Fatigue and acne. Plant-based protein powder. And besides smoothies, how could a protein powder be used daily? I don't love protein powder. If we need to boost your protein, then I suggest using that. Again, it's all like food first. Plant-based protein powder. I don't even use protein powders anymore. There is Nunza. Is that what it's? N-U-Z. Nunza. I'll look it up. That one's good. I had another one recently that someone asked me, and I'm gonna look for it. But besides smoothies, so you can put it in your coffee. If you're having coffee, even decaf, fine. You can mix it up in your coffee. That's pretty simple. Or I wouldn't in your tea because textures, flavors, it could get a little gross. You can mix it into soups. You can mix protein powder into soups. Especially as we're getting to, later in the year, although it was like 80 degrees here today, which is so strange for Colorado. As we're getting into cooler weather, it's really nice to have a big bowl of soup. So you can toss some protein powder in there. Just make sure it's like hydrolyzed. I'm thinking about collagen. But anyway, make sure it's from like a reputable brand. And if you want to send me an email, hello@briannatowne.com, I'm happy to send out specific brands of protein powders, plant-based protein powders, all that good stuff. I have a sinus thing. I had a COVID test this week. I'm good. Don't worry. I'm just talking a lot. Makes me cough a little bit. Okay, there's like different spots to ask questions. Okay. I had a friend tell me her doctor suggested having half a glass of wine each day during her pregnancy. Is this a thing? Exclamation mark, question mark. No. I mean, alcohol is poison, okay? Like there's just no other way around it. Like it is poison. That being said, what are you comfortable with? Are you comfortable taking that risk? That, what's half a glass? Is that 2 ounces? Is that 4 ounces? Can you only have half a glass? Would you be tempted to have more? Is it worth risking fetal alcohol syndrome? To me, no. I'm not going to make any recommendations like that at all. My thought process behind anyone suggesting wine during pregnancy would be for the antioxidants, which you can much better get from berries. Eat some blueberries, eat some raspberries, toss them in your smoothie with your plant-based protein powder. You got a whole meal, you're good to go. No, I think that's a really outdated thing. I would guess that this person's doctor is over the age of 60, 70. I know my mom, when she was pregnant with me, her doctor told her to do that. I turned out fine, I think. But yeah, no, I don't think it's worth the risk. No, it's not a thing. Anybody else questions? I answered that live. Oops. I don't know what I did there. I'm trying to get these questions out of this area. All right. Any other questions? No pressure, guys. But I don't want to hop off unless you really, really don't have questions. It's not easy being pregnant in a pandemic and being scared and confused like all the time. It's not easy. And then trying to stay healthy and on top of things on top of all that is like, I'm just really proud of you guys for showing up here and being here and, you know, taking the authority to find healthier ways to live, to thrive during your pregnancies. So really, really, really happy for you guys. What kinds of fish are okay to eat and why? So staying away from swordfish, for one, no good. Lots of mercury. Salmon is my go-to. You're getting the biggest bang for your buck. You're getting lots of omega-3s. You're getting all that good fat. Salmon's the way to go. Tuna's okay in smaller amounts. Tilapia is a good one. I would focus on trying to get, if you're an animal eater, if you eat fish, doing it twice a week at least, and sticking with like salmon, tilapia, tuna, so that you're not risking getting a lot of mercury in your diet. Obviously stay away from raw fish, right? We all know that. We don't want to be risking all of that. Raw fish, not great. Yeah, salmon, tuna, tilapia, those are great ones for your omegas, fat, all that good stuff. Best tips for getting enough protein as a vegetarian. Okay, so I am plant-based. I don't know if you could tell from my really lovely talk about animals rotting in your stomach for 72 hours. And was vegan, totally vegan for 5 years. Yeah. So this is a really tough one. This question is actually one of the reasons why I went back to school and studied nutrition. So, getting enough protein as a vegetarian. Don't be afraid of soy. It's vilified for some reason or another. I really feel like it's something to do with like the beef industry. They're like, oh man, we have to like fund all these studies that say soy is bad. It's not, all right? Soy is not bad. Look for organic, non-GMO. So tofu is a great way, great way to get enough protein. Tempeh is wonderful. Another way to get enough protein as a vegetarian is to look at your carbs and your grains. So if you're eating a lot of, say, rice, swap it to quinoa or lentils. Those are going to give you that bulk and have that good carbs, but it also has protein. Same with oatmeal. Oatmeal is a great thing for breakfast in the morning or any time of day, really. It has that carb, but it also has some protein. So really looking at things that kind of do double duty. Adding seeds and nuts on top of all of your foods. It's going to add a little bit of fat too, but it's that healthy plant fat that we need to absorb vitamins and minerals into our diets. So seeds, nuts, beans, lots and lots of beans. If beans give you digestive issues, then soak them overnight, at least for like 12-ish hours. Soak your beans overnight. If you're doing like canned beans, just rinse them really, really well. And it should kind of help mitigate those kind of gastrointestinal things that sometimes come with beans. If you're not used to eating beans, go slow. Don't just eat like 4 cans of beans in a day. But yeah, looking at making sure you're just like kind of adding on extras, and it kind of ups that plant number too. Seeds, nuts, pumpkin seeds are fantastic. Lots of like bang for your buck in that little tiny package. What should I add to my diet to help combat horrible constipation with pregnancy? So first, look at your prenatal. Oftentimes, your prenatal contains an iron in it, and it's the wrong kind. Usually, the like generic prenatals you get from the drugstore or even prescribed by your OB, it has, oh shoot, and now I can't remember which form it is. I'm gonna look it up real quick. My brain's not functioning properly. So oftentimes the kind of iron that you're getting from your prenatal is causing constipation. So look for what is it? It's iron bisglycinate. Yep. So iron bisglycinate is going to be the one that's less likely to cause constipation and other gastrointestinal issues. So that could be a real problem. Otherwise, it could be fiber. And I know I just talked a whole lot about how fiber is really, really great for your gut. But it may be that you're getting too much at once, or getting, too much at the beginning of the day and then not enough at the end, and it's just kind of imbalanced. So the best thing I can suggest, without knowing what you're eating, is to have meals that are really well balanced throughout the day. Even if that's like smaller meals, you want to be looking at making sure you're getting veggies, carbs, protein, fat in each meal. So that looks like, if you've got a plate, half a plate of vegetables, a quarter plate of carbs, quarter plate of protein, and then a sprinkle of fat on top. That's a basic place to start. In your second and third trimesters, you may want to look at increasing that protein, or making sure that your carb, if it's like a starchy carb, is, like I said, that like lentils or quinoa, something that kind of has protein in it that can double. But balance is really the key to everything. But definitely constipation, making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're getting lots and lots and lots of water. Our bodies need so much more water than we think they do, especially during pregnancy. And then doing some prenatal yoga can really help with kind of moving things through your system so you won't be so constipated. Moving your body, moving things through. All right, is kombucha safe to drink while pregnant? So kombucha has like live cultures that can create alcohol, right? So if you're buying your kombucha, however you want to say it, from like a regular store, right? They're legally only allowed to sell it to you without asking for your ID. If it has, I think it's like 0.5% alcohol or less. So that amount isn't going to get you drunk. Even if you're drinking like 4 bottles of kombucha, you're not going to get drunk. If it truly is that amount. There have been in recent years, I think it was Health Aid. Health Aid had like a lawsuit because one of their kombuchas had like way too much alcohol in it. So yes, I believe so. I've looked at, there's not a whole lot of research on the topic because it's kind of a newish trend that just hasn't been looked at closely. But I am comfortable telling my clients that it's okay to drink kombucha. I'm comfortable personally drinking it. I did during my last few pregnancies. But it's also important to remember that like the giant bottles you get of like Health Aid, for example, they're huge. Like you don't need that much. It's a lot of sugar and there's a lot going on in there. So usually I would say like half of a bottle of kombucha a day, or at least in like one sitting, is like safe and okay. It's delicious. I just finished a little can of kombucha. It's so good. So in moderation, go for it. Is it okay to just do yoga and Pilates in the next 9 months? I used to do moderate, heavy exercise, but right now I can't handle it because of nausea. But I'm worried I'll gain so much more weight if I don't pick up my heavier exercise routine. Yes. I like to see a little bit of strength training because you're growing, right? You're growing and you need that extra core strength, whether you think you have a core or not. It's under there, under that baby, under that belly. I like to see a little more strength training so your ligaments and bones and muscles can handle the weight of 1, a pregnancy, and 2, picking up and putting down a newborn, right? So yoga is great. So if I'm talking a lot about food, I am also a yoga instructor and pregnant and postpartum corrective exercise specialist. So I feel like I can talk on this. Otherwise, I would pass and refer it on to a different specialist. Yes, you can totally do yoga and Pilates, just that. For your pregnancy, make sure that it's, with an instructor that's actually trained in prenatal exercise. I've seen so much prenatal yoga that's just not super safe. If you're not doing moderate to heavy exercise, I would suggest walking. Yoga and Pilates are great. I would also suggest walking, going for a walk. If you have a dog, take the dog for a walk. That kind of is along the lines of that natural, it's a natural movement, right? Yoga and Pilates, they're specific movements and they're less natural. You know what I mean? Like when I'm doing like strength exercises, I'm looking at, squatting. Squatting is a natural exercise, doing squats, because with proper alignment, you're squatting to pick up your baby, right? You're squatting to put the baby down in the crib. So it's those, I don't want to say natural. What is the word I'm looking for? Functional, those functional movements. So I really like to see those functional movements during pregnancy. But again, it's what you can handle and what your body can handle and what your mind, nausea, whatever. So any kind of movement that's safe for pregnancy is fine to do while you're pregnant. No need to worry about gaining too much more weight during pregnancy. Your like HIIT exercise or whatever you're doing isn't going to affect that much change. If you're moving your body regularly, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be good. All right. I think I caught up on questions. Anybody else? I have blocked off more time in my schedule. If you have any questions that are more personal than you'd like to share with everyone, please feel free to email me. I'm going to type my email into this chat box. You're welcome, Margaret. You're welcome. I'm so glad. So glad. Everyone has their own personal journeys, and sometimes you never know if you're just talking to the void or if you're touching on what someone's really going through. I've worked with enough mamas that I see the same things over and over and over in my practice, and think that I have the right things to say to a group of people, but you never know. So thank you. I'm glad it was very helpful. Yeah, so if you have any questions that are too personal or that you think of later, feel free to email me. I just dropped my email address in the chat. And you will also receive like just a little follow-up with a recording of this if you want to go back and look at something, share it with a friend. You'll get a recording, and then that discount to my Happy Hormone Reset if you want to join and dig in deeper. This is just one of the many, many, many educational modules within that reset. Again, it's a 6-week virtual program, virtual course in balancing hormones, gut health, dealing with cravings and triggers, and really honoring your body and digging into that mother's intuition that we all have. We do. That's why you're here. That's why you asked such great questions, is because you have that mother's intuition and you want to do the best for you and your family. So that's what the course is about. So you'll get an email with all that info if you want to join. And then you can also respond to that with any questions as well. If there's no more questions, I'm gonna pop off. You're welcome, Lexi. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I know it's hard to like schedule things. Thankfully, my husband was working from home today, so I got to come into the office and do this, but we've got 2 big kids on remote learning and 2 little kids just sitting in the basement trying to stay entertained. So I know it's hard. And I'm glad that you made the time for yourselves to join. So I will keep this up for another minute, but feel free to start trickling off. And yeah, hopefully I will talk to you all soon. And have a great rest of your evening. Oh, I'm out.